Hello everybody and welcome to this playthrough for Rookie Division with various wind for the 150th the Open Rookie Division, and we are going to play with the new hole locations, which is super exciting. It's the Glenmonarch Estate, that is the name of the course. And before we take a closer look of everything, make sure that you do hit the thumbs up button, also subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification. For those of you that are looking for content for a Rookie Division or any other division, make sure that you subscribe to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. You can also scan the QR code here on the screen and you will go directly to the platform. We already have the general tournament guides out, where I do give my insight of my first time playing of the holes on how you can attack the new hole location, which will be super helpful for you if you're going to attack this course. Again, sign up and get part of the big community. Follow the info box on the right hand side to follow along in this playthrough with what club and ball I suggest you to use, also what club distance and elevation I think would be perfect for the shots. Don't have to follow what I do suggest, but there is always a plan behind it. So let's move on and check out hole number 1. For the drive, we're gonna play the same way here now, even though it's a new hole location. We're gonna go up the right hand side. The fairway is a bit narrow, but it's still gonna be a fairly easy drive. We're using 4.5 bar topspin and all the left spin that we can get. You don't have to play with the katana, but I do feel that there is tons of value in using the side spin 3 to simplify the way of playing down the fairway. So we hit perfect and we're gonna see ourselves being very much centered on the fairway, and now we're gonna have a very good chance for a drop from distance. The important part here now for the second shot is that you have packed the club that do have, even in a lower level, some topspin, and therefore I play with the Hornet instead of the Thorn, even though the Thorn is, in my opinion, a better club in the lower stages. So here I'm playing very close to minimum distance, so make sure to check where minimum distance are to make the best judgment on the second shot, using approximately half a bar of topspin when it comes to a slight tailwind angle. But it's when you do have headwind it becomes a little bit trickier, because then you need more topspin to have the ball guideline more through the hole. True club distance, and we're gonna play minus 10% elevation, which is an uphill adjustment. But you can see here now the pin stands higher up than where the ball are, which means that when we do hit the shot, the wind will affect the ball less than normal. Therefore we play minus 10% instead of what we normally do on holes where it's just flat or just downhill. Very good chance here on hole number 1 to start off with an eagle. For hole number 2, I do believe that the rough bump is the way to go. When we do have a tailwind in any form, I do recommend to play with a power 0 ball such as the Marlin. I'm using one left spin and whatever top spin that gets the ball guideline to go just through the hole. And what I want to do is to have the yellow rain to be by the rough line as worst. And what I mean with worst is that I don't want to have the bullseye closer to the rough line, with the risk of missing the rough if I'm having a bad pull angle or if I'm just doing something else wrong. Adjustment is medium distance with a 5% over adjustment, and then we're gonna center the ball and hit perfect. With the new hole location that makes the pin now stands further back and a little bit more to the left, the rough bump is the most viable option here in my opinion. Sure, you can still do a bounce over, but the problem with the bounce over is that you're gonna have to use too much topspin, in my opinion. That's gonna have the ball to come in with a much higher speed than before, and it's gonna make it harder to drop more consistently. So the rough bump makes it more control, but as always when we do rough bumps, there is always a risk involved there. So if you're not interested in the rough bump, there's nothing wrong to bounce on the fairway before the rough in the sand and then just take your birdie and have an outside chance for an hole-in-one. For hole number 3, we're going to use the ball that do give us the most power. A Berserker is perfect, as you hopefully have won some in the recent golden shot. Using 2 right spin and a little bit of top spin, my goal here now is to get to as close to the rough line possible with my drive, using a little bit of overpower as well to push it even more. For those that do not want to push it at all, then you do not use any overpower and play it a little bit more left. That will give you a little bit more room on the drive for errors, but that will be that you are somewhat forfeiting any chances of an albatross from distance. Maximum distance plus 10 is the elevation. Second shot, now you can see with the new hole location, the pin stands more centered on the green and a little bit to the right. Before it was way more left, which made the attack towards the pin much more difficult. Now we do have a chance that we bounce over the rough and the sand and can attack the pin directly, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be an easy albatross to get, but it's just going to mean that we now have a possibility to make it in a much bigger extent. Using a club such as a big dog or any other club that you have a lot of power, especially when you have a sniper in a lower level, is going to be a very important thing, because otherwise you're going to have to play too far back and you're not going to be able to bounce and attack the pin at all. Now I come in with way too much speed and needed way more backspin to even have a chance, but at least you should be understanding my idea with this type of play. If you fall short with the drive, then we do the standard way to save the eagle, which is to try to clip the rough in between the bunker on the way left and the bunker in the center, trying to roll that ball on towards the green. That was the previous way of playing this hole. Now I do believe with the new hole location, we do definitely have a better chance to go for an albatross. For hole number 4, we are going to do a rough bump. Not the rough bump that I'm first going towards. I just wanted to check the spot there, and then I'm moving back to actually play the shot that I want to. Sure, we can still go for a rough bump at top there, but I do believe that this is part 3, where we're going to play the same way like we have always done, which is to go just before the green to do a rough bump. Now, the pin stands not as far back as it did before, which means that I think it's a much easier shot to get a hole-in-one on, and I do think you will see that on your opponent's scorecards. I'm using one left spin and whatever top spin that gets the ball guideline to go just through the hole with the red ring somewhat close to the rough line. Minimum distance with a 5% over adjustment and hit perfect, and this is going to be a very good chance. What I would like to say though is when you play this hole, you cannot play in tailwind with any other club than a sniper, any other ball than a power 0 ball, and then obviously with sniper. And this because you will pull into min club, and that's something to have in mind. So a power 0 ball is definitely the ball to play with. In headwind you can play even a power 2 ball if you would like. A crosswind, power 1 ball is the maximum. So very important to have that in mind so you don't go in with the wrong ball. Hole number 5, they have moved the pin now to be more left and further back, which in my opinion is great, because that means now when we are going to have the layup, we can actually attack the pin in a much better extent without having to have a lot of backspin, which was always the problem before, where if you didn't have the backspin on the second shot, you couldn't really go for the pin if you didn't go for a risky dunk with all the water. Now, if we do have a tailwind, we can use a power 5 ball to drive the ball directly over the water, and obviously that's what we're going to do if we have the club, if we have the ball, and we have the wind. But if we don't have that, which is the case here in the video, then we're using the quarterback because it's a very accurate club. It also have a good ball guideline, which means that it's easier to aim to make sure that the ball gets high up the fairway without having to go with overpower, and also without it cost you if you do hit a great ball. Maximum distance plus 10. Second shot, now you can see here now, before we had to go with max backspin to be able to actually attack the pin, because the pin was basically where my white ring is with my thorn now. But now the pin is further back, and I'm going to attack with just as little as 2 backspin here, leaving the ball guideline slightly short, as my ball guideline is not as developed as I want it to be. True club distance, somewhere between medium and maximum distance, so I mean around 75 to 85% is what this shot is normally gonna play. And you can see as well that I'm playing with a Titan, and the reason I play with the Titan is not so much for the drive, it's more towards the second shot. If I do have a short drive or I do have a direct headwind that pushes me to adjust closer to max club. A perfect ball here is going to have a good chance. It's a flat green, which means that we don't really have any bumps on the green to blame if we do miss this short iron shot. But hole number 5, good chance for an eagle. Hole number 6 is a pretty boring par 5, and the reason for that is that it's so long and the albatross is pretty much non-existent in my opinion. Use 4.5 bar of topspin here in the video, or I'm using that in the video, and I'm also using some right spin as well. My goal here is to clip the rough above the bunker to roll out on the fairway, but have in mind that I'm playing with a power 5 ball as well, and I'm playing with max overpower. So for those that do not want or can use a power 5 ball, you're going to be having a big struggle here getting yourself close to green on the second shot, and most likely going to have to settle for a birdie. So if you have a power 5 ball that you can spare, preferably a berserker ball here, because you can win that for free in the golden shot, then I strongly advise you to play with that ball here, because getting an eagle here is more or less like getting a drop, which means that you're going to have an advantage over your opponents. On the second shot, I'm aiming close to the right hand side using the wood club that gives me the most power, and curl, because the curl is going to help us to push the ball right and getting ourselves close to green, using all the topspin I can with 2 right spin. For those that do feel comfortable going with a power slice, you can do that too. I just don't feel comfortable with that in many of the situations, and therefore I do not. When it comes to the wedge, we are going to change a little bit. When it comes to the numbers, we're going to play that one 20%, and we are going to not play it max. It's going to be, yeah, what can I say? It's going to be medium distance, and we're going to play that with the wedge that gives us the best possible ball guideline. And in my case, that's going to be the Firefly. The Firefly is, in the early stages, a very good wedge, but obviously if you do have an upgrade in rapier, or you have an upgraded Endbringer, that's most definitely the club to go with instead. Now, what I'm trying to do here now is to try to use the left spin to avoid having to use the slope too much, because having to rely on the green and the slope that comes left to right in a big extent is going to create inconsistencies for you, and then you're gonna be in trouble. So for those of you playing EB School version, you play 20%. You stretch out to check where max club are, and then obviously you check where max club are, and looking at the pin in relation to that and decide how many percentage you shall play. I know that is technical, but that's just to explain for those that do feel comfortable going with that method. Otherwise, you play it exactly as you normally did. I play all my wedges all by feel for a very long time with good success. Hole number 7 is the first hole here, or the any hole that I'm actually playing a very aggressive line in this playthrough. This because I do believe with the new hole location it's going to be harder to bounce over all the water and the rough to still keep the correct amount of speed to get the ball to drop. Before, the pin stand way further back on the green and it was more centered. So now when the pin stands more right and a little bit closer towards the rough and the water, I do like to go for a rough bump here. In a tailwind, I'm using the top right of the yellow ring to be by the rough line with backspin to get the ball guideline to the hole. Adjustment, medium distance plus 10, and which is 1-to-1 to be more exact. So I'm adjusting 2.5 rings for 2.5 miles per hour. A perfect ball here is obviously a very good thing to have, and you will clip the rough, and you will roll up towards the pin and getting a hole-in-one. That may look scary, but again, I do want to use the playthroughs to give you what I believe is the best chances for a drop. Then obviously, if you are not interested in taking the risk that the rough bump will make you take, then you bounce before the water over towards the green, take yourself the birdie with an outside chance for a hole-in-one. For hole number 8, now they have moved the pin to be more to the right and a little bit further back than before. But the play is still going to be the same. Either you play on the left or you play on the right. And if I enjoy playing on the left in a much bigger extent. If you do have the wind for it now, this is a little bit too low, then you can actually drive the ball to green. That's going to be a featured thing, most definitely, if the wind allows that. Now, unfortunately, the wind is too low and I can't really show you that. So I'm backing up using all the 3 right spin and top spin. Outside wall left curl, adjustment is max plus 10. Goal here is to not go into the rough. It doesn't really matter where I am on the fairway. I do want to be a little bit higher up because that means that I'm closer towards the hole, but I do not want to flirt as much with the rough because going into the rough is gonna mean that I'm just going to lose the opportunity. So now, very important, check where minimum club are and then also where maximum club are, and then make yourself a call for what you're gonna play. I'm playing a thorn in a low level, which means that I do not have a good ball guideline, so I'm gonna have to leave the tip of the ball guideline short to not come in too hot. So that's the most difficult part here. Obviously, if you do have a thorn level 9, or thorn level 9 especially, you do have a good ball guideline, and that ball guideline is going to be very helpful. No elevation on the second shot, and I put medium distance in the info box just because it's going to be somewhere around that. It's going to be somewhere around 25 to 75% of your club, and that's obviously the difficult part to make that call correct. Perfect ball on the 0 and bounce on the fairway up towards the pin, and we're getting a dead center for a lovely eagle here on hole number 8. And I do see hole number 8 together as hole number 1 pretty much the par 4s where you kind of have to drop if you're gonna have anything to do with a top spot in the Open 9-hole Cup. Hole number 9, and we're gonna do what we normally do, which is to bounce over the rough and the water and also sand, and trying to aim with the second bounce approximately 1 ring past the rough when it comes to headwind. If we do have a crosswind and a tailwind, then we move a little bit further back to compensate for the extended ball guideline. All curl that you can get, but that obviously is different depending on what club you're using. Let's say like this, 3/4 of a ball in left curl, and adjustment is maximum distance plus 15. Have in mind that if you do have a direct tailwind, I do recommend to reduce the topspin a little bit and play with 3.5 bar topspin instead of 4.5 to prevent us from rolling into the sand that is on the other side of the fairway. Now you can see that they have moved the flag or the pin to be open now. Now we can actually attack the pin, but the problem is that it's still super bumpy where we are bouncing a first bounce but also the second bounce. So even though the pin is more makeable now, it's still going to be a difficult one to succeed for an albatross from distance. But to be fair though, like, me complaining about that is not something you should be thinking about, because before the pin were standing way more back left, which made it impossible from distance to attack, and now we do have a chance to attack, which we are going to take. Using a power 5 ball here allows you to attack the pin. Using a ball that is power 4 or below is gonna make it still be an eagle only play as per before. No elevation on the second shot, and we are more or less gonna play always from max club. Thank you so much everybody for watching this playthrough with various win for the 150th the Open 9-hole Cup here in Golf Clash the Game, playing from the front tee, which is Rookie Division. Make sure to scan the QR code on the screen or go directly to patreon.com/golfclashtommy. We will have guides for all of you for as little as $2.50. So once again, sign up and join the community. Thank you so much once again for watching, and good luck in your Golf Clash game.